Okay, welcome to Collecting and Displaying Data Part 2, in which we're going to be talking about bar graphs, line plots, frequency tables, and histograms, different ways of displaying data. First of all, let's look at the bar graph. Now, I'm sure you're very familiar with this. A bar graph can be used to display and compare data about any number of subjects. In this case, this shows the birthday of students by month. Okay? So if I asked you which month contained the most student birthdays, you would say June, okay? Because you can tell that it has the highest marker there. And you can also tell, because it's labeled, the number of students. 10 students have birthdays in June. If I asked you which months have about half of June's birthdays, well, you know that June has 10, so, and this goes up by 2, so it would be somewhere in this range. The ones that are close would be July, which has 6, and let's see, November, which has 4. Okay, so there's a lot of information you can get. Some of the key features, you'll notice that this is in color. It's very easy to read, it's very easy to look at. It is labeled. Okay, not only does it have a title, but the labels tell you that these numbers are the number of students, and that these are the months that we're looking at. Okay, so bar graphs can be very helpful in that manner. Okay, this is an example of a double bar graph. It's still a bar graph. You still have the bars which show the data. You still have a title, which in this case is the favorite sports of 3rd and 4th graders. That's the title. You still have labels. These are the number of students. These are the sports that we're talking about. What makes this a double bar graph, obviously, is that there are 2 bars for each topic there. Okay, you see that grade 3 is in blue, grade 4 is in green. So if I asked you, what is the favorite sport of 4th graders, you would be looking only at the green bars. And you would say, oh, it's basketball, because it has 30 students who reply that that was their favorite. If I asked you what was the favorite sport of a 3rd grader, you would have to look at the blue bars. And which one is the highest? Well, you'd say it's a tie between soccer and baseball, because those are both at 20. Okay, you can compare. If you said what is the which sport has the greatest difference in one grade to the other, well, you'd say, okay, basketball, because a lot of 4th graders like basketball, and a very small amount of 3rd graders like basketball. Or if I said which ones are very close, well, these 3 are only off by 5 each, but you can see that they're close. Which sports do 4th graders like more than 3rd graders? Basketball has the higher green bar. Soccer has a higher green bar. And which sports do 3rd graders like more? Baseball and swimming both have higher blue bars. So that means more 3rd graders said that they like those sports than 4th graders. Okay, now I want to talk about frequency tables. Frequency is the number of time data occurs, okay, the number of times you see that. A frequency table tells the number of items an event, a category, or a group occurs. So in this case, this is fake, obviously, but I wrote down the favorite pet of, let's say, the whole classroom, okay? And you see that the responses include dog, cat, and fish. If I was going to write a frequency table, well, first of all, I'm going to label it favorite pet. It's got to have a title, okay? I'm going to say the type, which of course would give us either dog, cat, or fish. I'm going to tally here, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a moment. And over here, I'm going to put the frequency. Okay, obviously your tables will be a little bit less sloppy than this, but that's okay. You kind of get the idea. All right, so I'm going to use a different color so it's really obvious what I'm doing here, but I've got my little frequency table here ready to go. I'm going to mark off that dog, and where it says dog, I'm going to write 1 tally. That's 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 tallies for dog. Okay, I went through and I marked off all the dogs. Now I'm going to go to cat. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now let's go to fish. There's not too many fishes. Or fish. 1, 2. Fish is on there twice. Okay, so I've made my tallies. I've added up. Now the frequency that dog appears, it appears 9 times. The frequency, or the number of times cat appears, is 7, and the number of times that fish appears, 2. So I can tell by our frequency table that when I ask, this fictitious class here, what was your favorite pet? Dog came in first, cat came in second, fish came in third, and that's called a frequency table. Okay, our next table I want to look at is called a line plot. A line plot uses a number line and x's, or other symbols, we're going to use x today though, to show frequency of values. So in this example, it says miles ran. So I've labeled it miles ran. In training for a half marathon, in the few weeks leading up to the half marathon, let's say that I ran 1 mile. The next day I ran 2 miles. The next day I ran 4 miles. Then I took a break and I ran 2 miles again. Then I ran 5 miles. Then I ran 8 miles. Then I ran 5 miles. Ran 5 miles again. And the day before the marathon, I ran 3 miles. Just a little bit of a maintenance run, so to speak. So these are my pieces of data, okay? And I want to put that down in my line plot. Well, where I see the number 1, I'm going to put an X that represents one time I ran 1 mile. 2, I'm going to put an X for 2. 4, I'm going to put an X for 4. I ran 2 again, so I put another X above the 2. Ran 5 miles. Ran 8 miles. Not easy to do. Ran 5 miles again. Ran 5 miles again. And then I ran 3 miles. So, now that you're looking at the line plot, you can see how far I ran. And you'll notice that just by looking at this, you can tell that I ran 5 miles the most. I ran 1, 3, and 4 miles the least. I didn't run 6 or 7 at all. I ran 1, 3, and 4 were the least of all of the distances that I did run, and that I only ran, and 8 as well, and I only ran a long run 1 time. So you can see that the majority of my runs were between 1 and 5 miles. 8 miles was a little bit of an outlier there. Okay, this is a histogram. Now you might look at it and say, well, Mr. Quick, that's a bar graph. What's the difference? Okay, in this case, it's the percentage of men spending at least 1 hour per week participating in sports or exercise by age. Now, that's a lot of information to put on there. In the case of a histogram, you'll notice that the ages down here, it doesn't say 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old, 19 years old, between 16 and 75 or 100 years old. That would be a massive bar graph. Instead, these are intervals or groups. So you'll notice that men who spend at least an hour a week playing sports or exercising between the age of 16 and 24, 60% or more than half say that they do spend that time exercising. Then it drops to 40% for men between the ages of 25 and 34. So the big difference here is that you're seeing intervals instead of each piece of data being individual, they're grouped together. So yes, it is similar to a bar graph, but it's not the same thing. It's called a histogram. Okay, we're going to stop here. We'll continue to talk about the different ways of collecting data in class and in our next video. I'll see you then.